In a fictionalized world where people are so critical with one aspect of this business when it comes to analyzing professional wrestling booking, we give you this unique aftermath and afterthought show towards wrestling predictions and decision making. As AEW WrestleDream is in the books forevermore, and we are going to close the coffin on the analysis and talk about it. Hello, everybody. Welcome back once again to this unique post-show analysis of your biggest pay-per-views and special across all professional wrestling. That is Predictions Post-Mortem, AEW WrestleDream Edition. I am, of course, the simple man of the simple brand, the voice of the SRS, the booker of the No DQ prediction leagues and social city predicting, forever grateful for all professional wrestling. Damn it. And my name is Noah Foster. And with me, as always, my fellow statistician and analysis, also extraordinaire moderator of the No DQ review, part of the Trinity, of course. Yeah. PapaGino. Good to see all of you once again, whether watching live or on demand. Please like, subscribe, comment, and tell a friend. If you also put in your predictions, let us know your aftermath on your predictions as well, or let us know what you might predict is next. As of course, we still have so much more to go in 2025. That being said, it's good to be here once again, live, talking the stats and bringing forth more fun analysis tonight. Hello, Gino. This is a different night, but it's good to see you once again. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Noah, and thank you to all the viewers who are patient with this breakdown of the predictions from AEW WrestleDream this past weekend. Had some real life get in the way on Wednesday, so we called an audible for those of you who are football fans, and we are doing it tonight. Look forward to breaking all this stuff down for you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to see Charles underscore top in the chat, and good to see anybody that, of course, supports PapaGino. Again, if you haven't already, please subscribe to PapaGino's channel, whether you're a fan of Rocket League, whether you're a fan of wrestling, or whether you appreciate this man's personality when he's not raging and the sleeves come loose. I used to do the glasses off thing, but I no longer do that anymore. But again, if you haven't already, follow PapaGino here on the YouTube and on the Twitch. It'd be good for you. Otherwise, he might have to call in some favors and get somebody like, don't mess with PapaGino the wrong way. But appreciate y'all as always. So again, if you haven't already, subscribe to PapaGino and subscribe to me and Foster 9016, your simple commentator and analysis for all things wrestling. Shout out to W fam. But yeah, Gino, of course, as I always like to encourage, priorities of our passion, along with so many other proverbs, whether they're biblical or whether they're just good morals. As I always like to say, protect your mentality, treasure your families. Good old JR says tomorrow's never guaranteed. And as always, like to encourage, just enjoy life and enjoy professional wrestling. But yeah, WrestleDream, it was quite a night. As again, AEW always sets a bar for me when it comes to an outlook, not only on predictions, but what I expect to see from this spectacle where we really look at everything when it comes to what we call professional wrestling. So I'm looking forward to breaking down the ratios with you. Who struck it rich? Who busted? Did anyone get it perfect? Was anyone close to perfect? What were the outliers? What were the medians? And so much more along with the leaderboards as we have 2 events left in the All Elite League. So I figure without further ado, for those that enjoy statistical analysis and wrestling predictions and post-show wrestling analysis too, let's get into it. So here you go, as Team No DQ's All Elite Wing features a fabulous 14. We, of course, were covering the main card only, which, of course, was 8 matches, not including the impromptu, of course, knife match with Mercedes Moné. But thank you, Mina Shirakawa. Congrats to Moné. Talk more about her, of course, on Full Gear when we get there. We had 8 matches, and as you can see, a couple of people went perfect, including me, where I am Holly, and I love professional wrestling. I love what this company has thrived and evolved. But as you can see in yellow, PapaGino and I have a lot of disagreement here involved. The match card is in order of the show, so I figure we'll just go right along with that. And good to see also Courtney and Melvin as well in the chat. So, Gino, let's go ahead and talk about who hit hard first. Between the women of AEW that really have evolved this year, Jamie Hayter and Thekla, of course, stemming back from Double or Nothing when Thekla arrived in AEW and dropped Hayter hard, and Madness was, of course, introduced. Of course, we fast forward the clock and the Triangle Madness was formed. Jamie Hayter, of course, talked about blood and guts and challenged the Triangle Madness to blood and guts. It has not been answered yet. We've already seen Jamie Hayter with singles wins over her running mates, Triangle Madness, including the Sister Sin, Sky Blue, and Julia Hart in respective singles matches. A first time ever one-on-one match in both women's respective careers. I look at the match like this with the fact there is no prior history in the ring with them under one-on-one means. But I also look at the fact that Jamie Hayter, she's living in the moment. She's the more recognized name. And you don't necessarily have to remain undefeated in your early genesis towards any big wrestling company. So why don't you go ahead and give your thoughts towards why you pick Thekla over Jamie Hayter? Because you were wrong.
Okay. Well, first of all, fortunately, on this one at least, I was not the only one who was wrong. We
It
will
was the
get
most
to,
lopsided match.
yeah, we will get to the elephants in the room coming up here in a little bit, so stay tuned. I personally like Jamie Hayter more than Thekla, but from what I've seen from AEW as of late, especially as relates to hearing them talk about the people and try to build them up, I really thought that this might be Thekla's moment here. Um, as I was watching the event, I found myself that I really do like Jamie Hayter better. And so I wished that I had picked her, but you can't change it once the event starts because we have honor and integrity here. It'd be a shame if something happened to this predictions league, set a fire to it, something like that.
Won't allow
But
that.
yeah, I guess you have to take, pay us a little cut of the profits. But all kidding
Consecutively.
aside,
Consecutively.
yeah, Thekla, I thought they might have given her the win. No problems with Hayter winning, but five people got it right, and which meant that the other nine, myself included, got it wrong. So that's kind of what I was thinking when it comes down to this match. No, you got everything right, so we don't need to bury the lead. But why did you? What made you pick Jamie Hayter here?
I think that Jamie Hayter was overdue for this small little story arc that really is going to pick forward at Blood and Guts. We're looking at Blood and Guts history, where most of the baby faces have won. I think we're going to change that dynamic with the first ever women's Blood and Guts to come next month. Of course, the Triangle Match not fully accepted yet, and with the Sisters sitting involved in the women's tag team tournament, I also think with Jamie Hayter and Queen of involved in that, there's going to be further storytelling towards all that as well. At the forefront, though, Jamie Hayter and Thekla being at the crosshairs of all six of these women that at least could be involved in Blood and Guts. I look at it like this. Jamie Hayter has not had a big win yet on pay-per-view since her return. The last time we saw her in a marquee singles match on pay-per-view was, of course, Double or Nothing against Mercedes Moné. I thought she was due here. I also looked at her interview with Denise Salcedo, looking to get comfortable, live in the moment, mix it up with everybody. And I felt that this right here, Jamie Hayter and Thekla, had great chemistry of one another, considering the former history in Stardom and Pro Wrestling and UK. So I just think Jamie Hayter was the more sensible pick here. Plus, with this win, she has now ran through the Triangle of Madness, all three members, which means you would think that no matter what team Jamie Hayter's on Blood and Guts, her team will win, right? Well, in 50-50 booking, maybe this is the first time Blood and Guts goes to the heels. So looking at the future of the women's division in Blood and Guts particularly, I think Jamie Hayter needed a little bit of momentum on the babyface side yet to be created. So I went with Jamie Hayter.
All right, wonderful. So we'll move on to the next match. This is one I got correct, and one of the few that I got correct. But we'll go into it. This was the tag grudge money bout between the Young Bucks and the newly reformed Jurassic Express. And to me, this was obvious, right? The Young Bucks have been doing their thing, but they don't need the win. You really wanted to make the rebirth of Jurassic. Sorry, don't at me, Universal, please. But the rebirth of Jurassic Express was you needed the win here. You needed to show that they were powerful. It was really fun to watch people cheer Jungle Boy again. I know that's not what he's called, but it was really fun to watch that. And then the hot tag with uh, formerly Kill Switch, now going back to Luchasaurus, which I'm not the biggest fan of Luchasaurus name, but I get it. It was just to me, it was obvious that it had to be Jurassic Express. I could have seen maybe the Young Bucks winning, but it feels like they are taking L after L after L as a part of a storyline and to kind of further separate themselves from EVP like influence. So I thought that this was the correct decision. Obviously, I guessed it, but yeah. So you obviously again got it correct. what do you have to add to why you thought Jurassic Express?
Well, again, as I am a man about statistics and data analysis and data management, it's one of those things where I look at the history of Jurassic Express versus the Young Bucks. Last time they faced them was Road Ranger 2022. They have not had a tag match with each other since. That night, the Young Bucks beat Jurassic Express for the AEW Tag Team Championships for their second run. And of course, it was the end of Jurassic Express after a kill switch was brought to life and Jack Perry went dark Hollywood, Crimea River, LOL. I look at this as being a second chance for Jungle Boy, Jack Perry, and Luchasaurus and Jurassic Express in general. But I also look at this as being a humbling to the Young Bucks that people have had so much crosshairs towards when it comes to we control everything, we're the top, we have to win, blah, blah, blah. Ever since All Out, the Young Bucks have been on a losing streak. And it goes to that character dynamic that they bring forward. With the fact that this was Jurassic Express' first match back truly as a tag team on pay-per-view 3 years, and their first chance to say they finally beat the Young Bucks. Talk about closing the book on 3 years of history, changing the world aside. I thought Jurassic Express made sense here, so I had to go with them. In my opinion, I think we're truly looking at a reset of the tag team division because the Young Bucks are at the very bottom of it. So I say keep them in that spot without the money included. That's why I went with them.
Absolutely. And it looks like, 9 of us out of the 14 got this one correct. I absolutely understand why people might have thought the Young Bucks, no DQ's leader Aaron Rift included. But to me, it just felt like no matter whether it's WWE, AEW, TNA, New Japan, like if you're not going to put some reunite a tag team and then let them lose, it doesn't. I don't think any company is gonna do that. Now, with that down, we'll move on to the Tornado Trios grudge match. And we have the Hurt Syndicate and the Demand, who are coming into this match with their team name, The Demand. We know that they kind of half pseudo had that name going into the last pay per view, and they caught the win. I predicted that they wouldn't last time. And so this time I said to myself, well, it feels like they want to push these guys more and make them truly elevated to the Hurt Syndicate's level. But unfortunately, I am not as familiar with the stats and the 50-50 booking of AEW. So, I mean, Demand won last time, Hurt Syndicate wins this time. But I really do like, especially the one guy from GOA. So for me, and it's probably not the smartest idea. I started the AEW predictions way late, and next year I will be taking it more seriously. But I was just kind of going with my heart, who I wanted to see win at the time when I was picking. I didn't do a lot of research. What are the betting odds, all this stuff, like I do with the WWE, which is why I'm so much higher in that. But for me, it was the Demand. Just why make them lose so soon when they're finally this group? But I understand the need for 50-50 booking. Like you said, now, obviously, you got it correct. The Hurt Syndicate, there were some pretty fun spots in this match, if I do say so myself. Ricochet being thrown over the rope as he's running, that like Ricochet is just, he
He
will
got
do
bodied.
whatever.
He
And
got
I,
bodied.
I
That was so
enjoy that.
good. So Sheldon Benjamin is an underappreciated commodity of this business that was not pushed to its full potential in WWE and has shown what he's truly capable of in All Elite Wrestling. Period. Yeah, this was a very fun match, and again, it was pretty much the rubber of what's been a trios in their rivalry. We, of course, saw the first trios match at All Out, where, of course, standard trios action. It was Ricochet getting a bit of revenge in the MVP. Followed Street Fight, though, with the 6 men, though, during AEW Dynamite's Homecoming. And it was the Hurt Syndicate that got the better there, with Ricochet being the flawed person, the guy that was at the front of all of this. So the fact that Ricochet wasn't part of the decision here, but his running mates, Bishop Khan, who second himself in the end, it made perfect sense to me. And it also made sense to me that the Hurt Syndicate stops running business with the Demand and moves on to new business. In my opinion, I just saw this being a short-running feud. That's why I went with the Hurt Syndicate here. It was also interesting, though, to add the fact that they also turned this into a modified number one contenders match for the AEW Trios Championships. Looking at the current trio right now, the Ops, and thinking about right now which match am I looking forward to more here, Ops versus Hurt Syndicate or Ops versus the Demand. I had to go with seeing MVP and Samoa Joe mixing it up again. So that also was playing into my mind as well. Now, truth be told, this, of course, stipulation was brought into play at the Return to Tornado Trios match following the fallout from Dynamite Collision Go Home special on Wednesday. But everything here just felt to me that the Hurts to get, they needed to close the book on the demand. And with the demand are trying to command respect, they need to find a new avenue to earn it. I had to go with Bobby Lashley, MVP, and Shelton Benjamin. In my opinion, the most complete and well-dressed faction of the professional wrestling business. And they hurt people.
Yes, well put again. 9 out of 14 people got that correct. And now we're going to move on to something. I mean, we could maybe just skip it. I don't know, but we're going to address it anyway. The
Don't worry.
TNT Championship. Um, yeah, no need to bury the lead. 13 out of 14 got this right, and ya boy got it wrong. So I just want to explain myself because it
Please.
looks like the optics aren't great here. Last time I saw Mark Briscoe, he was putting on, I don't really want to say a classic, but he put on a very, very entertaining, very sports entertaining match with MJF and the Tax and Tables. And as somebody who a month and a half, 2 months ago, felt the same way about Briscoe that MJF was talking about him, white trash, redneck, whatever, loser, all this stuff, weird, whatever he was saying. Like, just on the outside looking in, he's missing teeth. Yeah, we know about his brother, not going to disparage anything about that. Like, that's obviously awful. But at the end of the day, I gained a lot of respect for Mark Briscoe in that match. And you'd have to be an idiot not to know that Kyle Fletcher is so clearly the future of AEW. But at some point, the future has to lose their mid-card championship so that they can move on to bigger and better things. I think of Braun Breaker losing the Intercontinental Championship. I think of Gunther losing the Intercontinental Championship. Yes, I know that's another company, but at the end of the day, you usually move up that ladder. Now,
Echelon.
for me, I thought Kyle Fletcher, he's had the championship for a while. He is the future. Hangman's going to need another opponent down the line. I think maybe that could be the person to dethrone him. But I thought that Briscoe showed that after beating MJF, I think that you should go on a winning streak. That's just my personal opinion. I know that with wrestling, booking goes differently, but I thought Briscoe, would have been better served for Briscoe to win this match and Kyle Fletcher then move on to the world championship. But I was wrong. They're going to keep the strap on Fletcher. Obviously, they've got other plans for Hangman's upcoming opponents. But at some point in 2026, Fletcher's going to have to be fighting for the world championship. So that's kind of where my mind was at the time of picking. Now, you, again, obviously got this correct. What went into your choice? And I'm pretty sure you can speak for everybody else but me.
Pretty much Kyle Fletcher, the proto star, a breakout star of 2025, in my opinion, since WrestleDream last year, since joining the Don Callis family, now going to his sixth successful defense of the TNT Championship. It's one of those things where I look at the wrestling business, there are those people that make you better, push you to your limits, become your rival. I think Kyle Fletcher's rival is Mark Briscoe. It was their fifth singles encounter, and it was their third one this year. The last time they faced each other was Dynasty for the Owen Hart Foundation tournament quarterfinals. Kyle Fletcher won that night. Mark Briscoe, though, has yet to hold gold in AEW. But I also look at Kyle Fletcher, and this is his first gold in AEW versus gold in Ring of Honor. He's also a former tag specialist like Mark Briscoe, but he's really bringing out on his own as a single star with confidence and character development. Coming off that great main event match against him and Page for the AEW World Championship, there's no doubt in my mind he has the potential to become a top AEW World Champion in the future. But I still think the future is still very young and is being crafted. I think Kyle Fletcher is the stability that a workhorse championship or a TV championship needs. The perspective of what we are on TNT. What is AEW? Kyle Fletcher is that, in my opinion. He literally is a guy that could lead this business and lead this company as an original front runner. I think the TNT title gives him that opportunity right now, and the TNT title has been the most flip-flop hot potato championship in AEW history. I'm pretty sure there's been over 20 champions now in this title's history. I think Kyle Fletcher offers stability and great opportunity towards a huge, hungry roster here. And I think Mark Briscoe was just one of those to push not only himself, but also Kyle Fletcher in the process. That's why I didn't see Mark Briscoe winning right now. Kyle just got, of course, shortly after AEW All In during the summer. I want to see a good run with a good amount of stories brought out of it before they pass this off to a new guy to carry forward as the face of TNT television. Kyle Fletcher is my guy right now for the TNT title.
And I just want to say, I feel like Kyle Fletcher is filling and fitting this kind of Randy Orton mold, and I'm about it. So, I'm probably going to be picking Kyle moving forward into the new year. Spoiler alert. So, with that down, shout out to Blooney. Thanks so much for watching. Everybody watching again, don't forget to like and subscribe to Noah and myself. Leave some comments. We really appreciate it, whether you're watching here live or whether you're watching, on demand, as Aaron likes to call it, which is the absolute correct thing to say when it comes to
Exactly.
pulling up something to watch after it's live. So well done there. Now we're going to move on to the AEW Women's World Championship. To me, and I'm sure they discussed this on the AEW television programs. I didn't get to watch the Go Home show. Wednesdays have been a little difficult for me the last couple of weeks. So
Understandable.
they may have addressed this, but to me, this one-on-one matchup felt like a way to have Chris Statlander actually beat Toni Storm and show that she actually does deserve the championship, right? She took it from Toni through the four-way match, but this was the you earned it type of, hey, well, you didn't beat me in a one-on-one, blah, 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 blah. So me, with my fat thumbs, picked the wrong person in this, if I can be honest with you.
That's
I'm
fine.
I'm
Well,
not afraid to admit when I've made a mistake. This one, I did not make a mistake. I for sure thought that Chris Statlander was going to win because that's why you book this one-on-one matchup after the four-way. And I picked Timeless Toni Storm. Maybe it was like a Freudian slip because I was looking at how well she's presented, even in the graphic. And I'm just like, Toni Storm's great. And I meant to pick Chris Statlander, did not move forward. It is what it is. Now, am I wrong or am I right in my analysis for why Chris Statlander was the right choice? Noah, what do you think?
as far as I'm concerned, I figured that was a typo, dude, because even you and I have spoke verbatim about Chris Statler's potential and Thomas Tony Storm being the leading champion, wrestler, character of women in professional wrestling business this last calendar year. So as far as I'm concerned, it's unanimous. You got the point. No, you're absolutely correct. It's one of those things where I look at Chris Statlander, her road to this reformation that she caught. I heard her on Unrestricted. She came in as the Galaxy's greatest alien, became more than woman, beat that bitch, Jade Cargill, for the TBS Championship. Had a great run there. Has double knee surgery. Spent 600 days on injury, might I freaking add. And has finally arrived all on her own, despite fallout and betrayals of best friends and losing friends. Now leading by herself as the face of the AEW Women's Division, doing it on her own merit as herself. Period. And truth be told, she's still discovering herself. Why Thomas Toni Storm, once illustrious, once an outcast, once Motley Crue, became a timeless wonder. It was the timeless wonder versus the cosmic killer. This to me made sense because why Thomas Toni Storm has elevated the AEW Women's World Championship and this division, Chris Statlander has elevated herself. She's evolved herself and she could be a new leader for this division. Eventually, you got to find somebody else to bring the division forward in a different way when you feel like you've literally done all that you could. And we can literally go for the roster of AEW. Pretty much Toni Storm has beaten them verbatim. Hell, she's been involved in every pay-per-view this year in AEW Women's World Championship match, just to put that in perspective. And again, you hit the nail on the head. From a fatal four-way, where she pinned her, to proving it to a first time ever, one-on-one, fair and square, clean in the middle of the ring. You cannot deny that stats where it's at now, and Saturday Night Fever is here to stay, and rightfully so, and earned. Thank you, Thomas Toni Storm. Chris Statlander is the future in the present, and it's about damn time.
Absolutely. Now, with this next match, what's up? Shout out to JJ.
Subscribe.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for watching.
Appreciate you, brother.
Um,
Hope you're doing well. I got you for the shenanigans. Enjoy yourself Saturday again, folks. Subscribe. Continue, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of good guys that we have running through the Casa D18, the Simply Reliable, No DQ, Meacham Network. All these guys do great content, guys. So make sure you go check all of us out. We're all gonna have our different opinions and stuff, as you can see right here, except
Clearly,
for a
but at
few
least this
things.
was unanimous. As long as never match, we'll continue with that. Anyway, I got you, bro. I forget about
Yeah,
the time.
no worries. Again, I was in no way, shape, or form going to be elevating myself to the main event scene of the AEW predictions since I didn't start filling them out until after the summer. So, with this next match, the AEW World Tag Team Championship, we had Brodito against Konosuke and Okada. Now, for me,
Bitch.
these two are great on their own. And I figured that, the trend in all of wrestling has kind of been get two great single stars together and give them a tag team, maybe a tag team championship. For me, I'm just not sold on Brodito. I'm just not. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the look. Maybe it's the presentation. Maybe I don't really know. I can't really put my finger on it, but I usually you go with a current champ when you're 50-50 on it. But to me, I thought, it could be a good part of the story moving forward for them to have the championships. But I get why they continued to have Brodito get it. I know they haven't been champs that long, if I can remember correctly. But for me, it was let's let rated RKO. Let's let these the two great single stars coming together as a tag team get a championship. But I was wrong, and that's just what happens. I did enjoy the match, but when you have friendly fire, which is obviously going to lead to another storyline down the line, like I don't anticipate necessarily friendly fire. And if I was thinking that far ahead, I would have been like, well, for sure, but that caught me by surprise. And as somebody who's been watching wrestling a long time, I don't necessarily get surprised a lot. So that was a fun surprise, and yeah, the match was fun, regardless of whether I got it right or wrong. Now you obviously got it right. Again, you got every one of them right. Why stick with the current champs and still Brodito?
I look at it like this. You are looking at two teams that weren't necessarily formed together out of, tag team wrestling, pure chemistry, but more of a common bond of relationship, respect, or a person's itinerary. I look at the Don Callis family, it's all about Don Callis. But you're looking at A1 and A2 with Kazuchika Okada and Kenoza Takeshi when it comes to that entire family faction, whatever you want to call it. And right now, Don Callis has always been one to basically connect to his next golden goose. As of late, it's been Kazuchika Okada. I've been looking at it ever since he literally aligned with him after portraying Kenny Omega. The Takeshi kind of been doing his own thing, garnering more favor with the audience, and there's always been this game of one-upsmanship. Egos are tend sometimes to clash with each other. Also, both men kind of their own world championship. He's got the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship for New Japan. Okada's got the AEW Unified Championship, which is a whole different animal in itself. I look at Brodito as a reset of the tag division, like I talked about earlier, with the fact it's not former WWE talent. It's two guys from Santino Brothers Wrestling Academy and Ring of Honor, brought out of respect for each other, came together as a duo, AEW Originals, in a way to be a leader and a reset of this division. It's also that unique dynamic of speed, agility, and strength versus the power that is Brody King. But Bandito also surprised with what he did with that bad shoulder. For me, I see Brodito being a longer standing leader for the tag division. And there is a bigger story right now between the Alpha and Okada, where I think both those men are on a collision course for a massive singles match that Walter Cruz at Rage Wrestling cannot wait to call and see. There's a bigger singles match ahead for one of these teams versus the other in defeat or victory. And I don't necessarily need the tag champions breaking up, nor do I see that happening anytime soon. Brodito makes sense to me to hold on to the titles for the long haul, if not the rest of the year. Okada and Konosuke, they're on the road to a fallout, and I can't wait.
And that's obviously going to be a banger of a pay-per-view match when, of course, that they decide to do that. Now, I like what your thoughts are there, JJ. Absolutely. We'll have to see, and we'll have to stay tuned to AEW television and programming to see um, when that will be. In fact, now we're going to move on to the thanks to me, if I do say so myself, The only one that everybody got unanimously correct, and I say it's thanks to me because I was preventing that from happening multiple other categories in a row. So let's get into it. The AEW Men's World Championship. Adam Hangman Page versus a guy I really, really like in Samoa Joe. Um, Real quick, if you don't watch Twisted Metal, it's fun. The second season's really fun. It's based on the 90s video game. And Samoa Joe is the body actor on screen for Sweet Tooth, like the one character everybody knows, the guy that drives the ice cream truck.
Yeah, the
And
flaming
he's a
head.
lot of fun to watch, but it got him hurt. He's been out for a while, coming back in. He's got other multiple different irons in the fire. So he probably wasn't going to be given the win here, even though I would have popped huge for a Samoa Joe win. I do think he's one of the people that, to me, is super credible. Is super credible as a wrestler. Not that Hangman isn't, not that any of these guys and gals aren't, but to me, Samoa Joe, he's been in basically every company. He's got the history with so many greats across all of these companies, even TNA. And to me, if I had Joe in my company, I'm keeping him in the main event as long as possible. However, if MJF isn't beating Hangman Page, they're not giving it to Samoa Joe, and that was basically the deciding factor for me. I mean, MJF hasn't beaten Hangman for the title yet, but as of now, as the time of this booking, they weren't going to give it to Joe. More is going to go into this title and the future of the company by having somebody else dethrone Hangman Page, who is the upper tier of AEW television and programming. So yeah, it was Hangman Page all day. Um, and I completely agree with you, Nick. Thank you so much for that. I do think MJF is down the pipe a few more title defenses away. Now, Noah, why pick Hangman Page?
Well, it's one of those things where I look at the long-term history of the Chavez Arena stage for Samoa Joe, and I look at him and Adam Page short-term history as the AEW Men's World Champion this go-around. I look at it from two perspectives. Last time we were here in this building was Dynasty. Last year, Samoa Joe came in as AEW World Champion and lost it to Swerve Strickland. Now we're circling back here to this same building, same city, same situation where he comes as a challenger. And him and Adam Page, of course, is on this newfound road to, I would say, self-glory and self-redemption earned after going through war itself. It's one of those things where I look at Samoa Joe. I don't know if he's going to be a World Champion again, but I look at the AEW World Championship and I can see right now there's a lot of potential who could hold this championship in 2026. I think Heyman's going to finish out the year as champion in the short run of the conversation. I also look at Heyman with the fact that already he's had 6 defenses in less than 100 days. And I think Heyman has been very commendable on this run, both as champion and both as a test to his challenger and a pusher for his challenger. Samoa Joe is one of those that I think can push Heyman even harder, though, when it comes to how far these two are going to fight each other. And after what we saw in the aftermath, according to Nick's point, I think we're heading full gear into this rivalry. It almost feels like WrestleDream in full gear sets Heyman up for a short-term story, because usually that's back-to-back matches. Switchblade Jay White, Swerve Strickland. Prime examples. I look at that history as well. So between the stage, the timing, the length, and overall what direction I think it's going, Heyman and Adam Page makes sense. Also, to your point, MJF, he's at the front of the conversation. Will Ospreay, after he comes back, I look at him possibly. Swerve Strickland, there could be chances for that possibly happening. Heck, people are talking about Kyle Fletcher becoming champion next year. Who knows? Heyman and him might do it again. He might be ready next time. But it's also one of those things where I think that Heyman and MJF, who have been the foundation of AW since day one, will be his continued foundation for the future. And MJF still has that guaranteed contract where he could cash in at any time, 1 week in advance, to challenge for the championship. So I think Heyman deserves to hold it down for now. And Joe being a heel, I always think Joe is more menacing, devastating, destructive, and dominant as a heel figure than a babyface. This is Samoa Joe, the Samoa Joe I've been waiting to see. If it lost to Heyman took it that way, I'm happy with it. Yeah, Heyman makes sense right now to be the face of AEW with the men's world title. And Joe is a great opposition for the time being.
Yes, absolutely. And as somebody who admittedly isn't able to keep up every single show that they have on TV, I do watch the pay-per-views, but do the AEW faithful fans have the same issues with Hangman Page holding the title for a long time? We know he's not going to lose it like the WWE complainers have about Cody holding a title for a long time. Like, or is this just something? Well, they're giving us great matches, they're giving us great opponents, so that it theoretically could go either way. That it they don't that people aren't complaining about Hangman holding the title for an extended period of time. Or I just kind of wanted to ask that to you, Noah.
Well, considering the last time he held the championship, it was from Full Gear to Double or Nothing. That was the period of about 7 months. So I think it all comes down to what you do during it versus what you did to gain it. The chase versus being chased. And in this run, I think Heyman is more of a valuable prey to pursue than he was last time. So I think it'll be justified whoever takes the title off of him. And I think they are building a good direction for it. Again, there's multiple ways right now I can see the AEW World Championship going without Heyman even losing it. And again, I just mentioned Switchblade Jay White, a man that Heyman has not beaten yet either. Also out on injury. When the Switchblade comes back, that's a whole nother story waiting to happen as well. So right now, Heyman breathes new life into this championship this go around versus, okay, he has it this time. So there's more for Heyman to do right now in AEW, holding it versus going after it again or losing it.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you so much. Now we will move on to the I Quit match with Darby Summit Mount Everest All In Allen
Good Lord Almighty.
versus John, formerly Shieldly Moxley. And this feud has been going on so long that it's gotten stale and then been breathed new life into it all at the same time. And we had one of the more exciting moments of the entire wrestling year with Sting coming back, to me, totally unexpected. And you see the lights go out, you think, oh God, Death Riders, blah, 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 blah. But no, Sting's got the bat. He smacked, there's nothing really wrestling esque about trying to drown somebody, but Moxley's got this asphyxiation fetish. And whether it's from a bag, a tank of water, well, he'll probably shove something into somebody's mouth besides a syringe. We'll see what happens down the line. To me, that's not what I love about wrestling, this New Jack style stuff, this backyard hardcore wrestling style stuff. But it led to Sting coming back, and if I recall correctly, kind of bestowing the bat upon Allen, and let's call a spade a spade. I think I'm bigger than Darby Allen, so he definitely could use a sidekick of a weapon. Back in the Attitude Era, obviously AEW didn't exist, but you had guys like Crash Holly coming out with a freaking scale. Yeah, everybody kind of came to the ring with their own weapon, the no mercy style things, and I fully expect Darby to be brandishing the bat moving forward. For me, the writing is on the wall for Darby Allen as a potential candidate to dethrone Hangman Page. I know they're kind of both baby faces, but Darby, people don't think he's going to get the championship. I think that if this year has taught us anything, is that Darby Allen's in line for an AEW World Championship next year at some point. I know that might sound blasphemous. I hope I'm right, but I could be wrong. I understand that Moxley, he doesn't really lose any steam. He can still go out and bleed every night and do what he wants regardless. So to me, this was a no-brainer. It has to be Darby Allen. You don't want him looking weak going into the new year. And I think that they've been booking him very strong lately. And that's what I want to see in homegrown AEW talent. I want to see them booked strong, and I want to believe in them and their pedigree. No pun intended. Towards getting their just deserves. And for me, and 13 out of the 14 of us, it was Darby Allen. Why did you pick Darby Allin, Noah?
Because this literally was a storyline reaching its final chapter 1 year in the making. After last year's WrestleDream, where Bryan Danielson died a Warrior's death to Jon Moxley, who held the AEW Championship hostage and gave multiple physical messages to Darby Allin to stay away, but Darby Allin being AEW's icon, quote unquote, being the dark shadow of Jon Moxley, living life to the fullest every last possible minute he can, challenging his own mortality, where Jon Moxley was once an addict himself, accepting his own demons. It almost feels like Jon Moxley and Darby Allin are mirrors of themselves in different, you say pedigrees, I say different evolutions, both as wrestlers and as human beings. I also look at this being the way that Darby Allin finally gets some self-fought redemption for everything Jon Moxley has caused towards him in AEW, where both men have their own ideology towards professional wrestling and all elite wrestling for that matter. That's why that flag shows so much symbolism towards Darby Allin, where, as Cody Rhodes once said, AEW is freedom. For Darby Allin, AEW is freedom. For Jon Moxley, he clearly didn't want freedom. He wanted to dictate violence. And he got his own rub of faction killers for that. It's also one of those things where I do think Darby Allin, who's also been there since day one, has incredible potential to challenge for the World Championship. But at one point, he held the TNT title in a higher regard in the memory of the late, great Brody Lee above the AEW World Championship. Let's not forget, Darby Allin beat Cody Rhodes for that TNT Championship, had one of the most longest runs with it, too, 9 defenses across 100 some odd plus days. Stability for the TNT Championship in itself, like I said with Kyle Fletcher right now, Darby Allin was one of the last stabilities, along with Miro, Christian Cage, and Cody, etc. But I definitely think Darby Allin will be a challenger for a championship next year, whether it's TNT or World, different conversation. But for me, the Death Riders, we've been on this ride for a long time with Jon Moxley, Darby Allin. If your gimmick for the match is I quit after you've done everything else not involving fire, bell to bell, then, in my opinion, Darby had to win this. We needed to close the book on Darby Allin versus Jon Moxley for now. And why Darby Allin might continue to be the icon, the shadow, the dark destroyer, the purveyor of the Death Riders MO, as I saw on Dynamite. I think that, again, to your point, Jon Moxley, the consummate worker, Mr. No Days Off, doesn't need a vacation, but on every pay-per-view, every show this year, he is AEW for a reason. Respect it, damn it. I think that right now he and Darby Allin need to go separate ways. They don't need to face each other again in the near future. This came down to strength and will and a battle of moral code. And looking at the scope of the story and the length of it, Darby Allin made sense to win in its conclusion, in my opinion. I don't think we're going to see Darby Allin versus Jon Moxley again for a long time. But it doesn't mean that Darby Allin won't be Jon Moxley's undoing if he needs to be.
Absolutely. And one last thing I wanted to add to that. There have been countless I quit matches in professional wrestling, and it's hard to bet against the guy who seems to have no quit in him, right? I think back to John Cena versus Batista. You're not betting against John Cena's not going to say I quit. Think back to you think back to Mankind versus The Rock. The only way The Rock beat him was because he had a recording of him saying I quit, because nobody thought Mankind would never quit. And Darby Allin, Darby all in, he never quits. So Moxley, as the heel, can quit and still be this imposing badass, the following show. So to me, it was a no-brainer. You had to pick Darby. The man's not going to say I quit. He's not climbing Mount Everest and then quitting to some bullcrap like drowning. it sounds funny to say that out loud, but here we are in wrestling in 2025.
Well, to your point, the perspective of professional wrestling, modern day professional wrestling, when you look at Japanese death matches, Japanese torture, backyard, GCW, sports entertainment spectacle, or you're trying to pull something out of Mad Max or Red or some sort of form of criminal punishment, Yakuza style, all of that kind of was etched in this match, to be fair, because this I Quit was one of the damnedest I Quits I can remember. It was a torture battle for Darby Allin, we're being perfectly honest here. If the man can survive Mount Everest, can survive being hit by a bus, can survive his father almost killing him in a car ride, can survive being left alone, isolated on this world to defend on his own, and can survive Jon Moxley and his Death Riders and I Quit match, there's no way Darby Allin was going to say I quit.
Completely agree. Now, as the person who got the least amount correct, 3.5, we'll call it. And you were tied for the most at
nice job,
8
Steve-O.
with Steve-O. Shout out to Steve-O. Absolutely. It seems like this was an event that a lot of people felt strongly about what was going to happen. Some of us were right, some of us were wrong, but for the most part, it looks like the people were correct. And this is snap your finger, and here we go. Here we are. Obviously, I am at 14 because I've got a couple zeros, not for trying and failing,
You
but
debuted
for
late.
lack of trying.
You
Yeah,
debuted late along with Oofman. And again, I love professional wrestling and AEW. I've followed since its genesis, what was a fever dream back at All In 2018. So it is what it is when you look at the wrestling business beyond the scope of sports entertainment and reality television. When I look at the wrestlers that have been on the grind for the independent scene that have really cultivated today's AEW scene, if we're being perfectly honest. And that
yeah.
definitely helps me in my predictions. But yeah, again, you're doing great though for your debut. You didn't do too bad at All Out, but WrestleDream, dude, you tanked. But you got four though. And Oofman, of course, who just arrived. And again, right now, Dwayne and Matthew, they're pretty neck and neck. And of course, as I said before, like with WWE, there's only two events left. No more leaderboard updates shared. I wouldn't even do them myself because that's how much I hold pride to figuring out who wins these things. No more leaderboard updates until we're done now because all we have left is AEW Full Gear and AEW World's End. And shout out to the All Elite Fleet, of course, that is over 60 strong. There's the top 30. Greg Aldis, Kyle Verlama, King A-Train, Kinkietta, Chaz Rotz, and Rob Grigg. They're doing very well, tied up there in first, second, and third. And again, I do this, like I said, folks, that are first time, WWE, NXT, AEW, TNA, primarily. Might expand more next year, might combine a couple based on what we've seen in WWE particularly. But again, stay tuned. But yeah, there was definitely some strong opinions across WrestleDream. There was a lot of consistent opinions when you look at the average of several of the matches being like one person got wrong, whether it's typo or you're a TJS, which is a special case. And then there was a couple of matches where about, I would say 66% or so got pretty much correct. But I love the fact that everyone's so partisan on Jamie Hayter and Thekla, with Thekla being what everyone thinks every wrestler is anymore in AEW when they first arrive, a new shiny toy. How about you put some more respect on people, damn it? And as far as Jamie Hayter goes, being the long-standing competitor in the company, I'm glad a few people chose Hayter like me. But I love the fact that every time I do this, I never have a sheet that's fully green, especially from you guys in No DQ.
Absolutely. And with that being said, it's tough to join the league, guys, super late and have a competitive chance. You could go perfect, 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 and you're only doing the last three. But if you do want to join in, the new year is right around the corner. Get in touch with Noah. You can get your some practice rounds in with the next couple of events, whether it's WWE, NXT, AEW. I don't think we break NXT events down unless they coincide with an AEW event. But
Yeah.
yeah, but you can still do your predictions, and there are still rankings for all of that. Guys, reach out to Noah any way that you can, and make sure that you get some feelers on how this goes, so that way when it comes time for rubber to hit the road, January, you already feel comfortable and you're ingrained in it, and you do have a fighting chance because some of these guys and gals in here they really know their wrestling, and it's really tough to catch up to people when that's happening. So, but we want as many people in this as possible. So jump on in. We welcome all newcomers, all shiny new toys to
Ah,
come into
damn
the
it.
predictions league. Whether it's through no DQ, whether it's through other channels, it doesn't matter. Noah does a really great job. I think that the aesthetics of these graphics and the way he does this, and it's a pleasure to break it all down with you. I really enjoy being able to do this with you, and we'll make a few. We're always going to tweak and upgrade and try to make these videos better for you guys. So stay tuned as we go into it. You can find me on my channel. If you're watching it on my channel, you already know where that subscribe button be located. But if you're not, go to PapaGino0017 on YouTube, breaking down videos. I do my own podcast most Wednesdays, and I'm live streaming Rocket League Mondays. We're out here talking all things movies and TV. We have a blast, guys. I know it's a bunch of different stuff to follow, but there's something for everybody on my channel.
All the
And
time.
if you're watching from my channel, don't forget to go subscribe to Noah. at nfoster1916, I believe across all platforms because my man knows how to brand. Noah, where else can the people find you?
Pretty much. I'm antisocial, introverted, but I'm simple. Literally, it's just in Fox in 2016. Primarily on X with a simple hello or predictions form. Predictions form Halloween Havoc is literally just what's put out. And of course, right here on YouTube, cements Brandon Fox in 2016. You'll find the predictions form for NXT Halloween Havoc underneath my community tab. And again, primarily 95% of the content here I do on my channel is live, whether it's with Gino, whether it's with friends of the Simple Studios. The only stuff that isn't live are the simple sessions I started recording, and Walter Cruz will be on my next episode. Stay tuned for that coming soon. And of course, you can always find me Saturday night with Jada, like you saw on the channel, along with others, on the weekly Marvel Conversation Wrestling Madness called the Saturday Shenanigans. And outside that, I'm always happy to lend a thought to No DQ. Yeah. So find me on the No DQ review Tuesday nights if you can too, whether with PapaGino or Colin or Virtual or Aaron or Big G or some of the others. You never know who shows up on the panel, okay? But as always, I'm just here to remind you there's just simple fun in predicting and analyzing the outcomes afterwards. So again, just enjoy life and enjoy wrestling. If nothing else, you're not a fan of wrestling, you're not sure how to become a fan of wrestling, just start by simply predicting.
Absolutely. So, from Noah to me, as always, guys, we will catch you on the next one. Bye bye.
Have a good night, folks.
It has been laid to rest.
Quoth Gino, nevermore.